I stood in my mother's living room surrounded by at least 30 people, and I knew I was walking into a trap. I recognized neighbors from down the street. I saw church members from Sunday services. My Uncle Richard and his wife Patricia were there. My cousins Emma and Josh sat on folding chairs. Even Mrs. Patterson from the grocery store had shown up. Mom had called them all here for what she described as an intervention. My intervention. I apparently needed one. I counted the people. The living room was packed. I saw people sitting on the couch, the armchairs, folding chairs brought in from the garage. Some stood against the walls. I felt the air conditioning struggling against so many bodies. The room felt stuffy and tense. I noticed everyone kept glancing at me with these concerned, disappointed looks. I felt like some kind of troubled soul they'd gathered to save. I looked like I'd done something terrible and they were here to help me see the error of my ways. I knew better. I recognized this wasn't an intervention. I understood this was a performance. I was the villain in my mother's carefully scripted drama. I watched Mom sit in her favorite armchair, the one she'd bought last year with money she claimed she didn't have. I noticed she wore her church clothes, a nice blouse, dress pants, modest jewelry. I saw her makeup was perfect except for the deliberate smudge of mascara under one eye. I recognized the touch that said, "I've been crying." I watched her dab at her eyes with a tissue. I saw her take a shaky breath like she was gathering courage. Then I heard the words that made my blood run cold. "Vanessa abandoned me," she said. I heard her voice break perfectly on my name. She refused to help when I needed her most. My own daughter, my only child, left me to suffer alone. I felt the judgment instantly and overwhelmingly. I heard gasps ripple through the room. I saw heads shake in disbelief and disapproval. I watched Mrs. Patterson actually clutch her chest. I noticed Sandra, Mom's best friend for 20 years, cover her mouth with her hand. How could she? I heard someone whisper loud enough for me to hear. After everything Ellen's done for her, I heard another voice add. But I hadn't abandoned her. I knew exactly what she was doing because I'd seen her do it 100 times before, just never on this scale. I understood she had deleted her own messages, every single one that showed her lies, her manipulation, her cruelty. I recognized she was performing her favorite and most perfected role, the victim. I realized every single person in this room believed her without question. My name is Vanessa Cole. I'm the daughter my mother built her entire reputation on tearing down. I'm 27 years old. I work as a digital project coordinator for a mid-sized marketing firm downtown. I manage timelines. I coordinate between teams. I make sure projects launch on schedule. I find it's not glamorous, but it pays well enough. I live alone in a small but peaceful one-bedroom apartment about 30 minutes away from Mom's house. I rent in an older building, but I've made it mine. I keep plants on the windowsills. I stack books on every surface. I saved for months to buy my couch. I know it's not fancy, but it's mine. I feel it's quiet. I feel it's safe. I look like someone who escaped, on paper. I appear to be someone who got out of a toxic situation and built an independent life. But I know my escape never really mattered. I understand my mother always found a way to drag me back into whatever story made her look innocent and me look cruel. I remember she'd done it my entire life. I recall when I was 16, she told everyone at church I'd stolen money from her purse. I hadn't. I learned later she'd spent it on cigarettes and forgotten. I remember when I was 22 and moved out for the first time, she told the whole family I'd abandoned her when she had pneumonia. I'd visited her every single day and paid for her medication. I recognized the pattern was always the same. I see she'd create a crisis, cast herself as the victim, cast me as the villain, and wait for the sympathy to roll in. I understand today's story was that I refused to help her when she was sick and desperate and alone. I know every single person in this living room believed it without asking a single question. I watched my mother raise her voice so the people standing in the back near the kitchen could hear clearly. I know she was good at projection. I remember years of church choir had trained her vocal control perfectly. I begged her for help. I heard Mom say. I noticed her voice trembling with emotion. I told her I was in pain. That I needed medical tests. That I was terrified. And she just ignored me. She left me here, suffering, alone, not knowing if I was dying. I heard more gasps. I saw a woman near the window, one of Mom's neighbors, shake her head sadly and whisper something to the person next to her. I watched Sandra step forward. I saw her face twisted with disappointment and anger. I remember Sandra had known me since I was a child. I recall she babysat me. I remember she took me for ice cream. I thought she knew me better than this. Vanessa, how can you treat your mother like this? I heard Sandra say. I felt the sharpness in her voice. After everything she's done for you? After all the sacrifices she made raising you alone? I saw my Uncle Richard fold his arms across his chest. I noticed his expression was stern, judge-like. I didn't raise you to be this selfish, kiddo. Your mother deserves better. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask them why nobody was asking for my side. I wondered why nobody paused to think maybe there was more to this story. But I knew why. I understood Mom had laid the groundwork. I realized she'd been telling this story for weeks, maybe months. I remember little comments here and there. Vanessa's been so distant lately. I try to reach out, but she never responds. I don't know what I did wrong. I understood by the time today came, they'd already decided I was guilty. I recognized this gathering was just the public sentencing. I know the truth. I understand the real truth. I recognize my mother wasn't helpless. I see she wasn't abandoned. I know she wasn't even sick. I understand she was calculating, manipulative, and very, very good at lying. I remember 3 months ago, she called me at work, sobbing. I heard her say she'd been to the doctor. I listened as she said they'd found something concerning. I understood she needed expensive tests that her insurance wouldn't fully cover. I felt her fear when she said she was terrified of what they might find. I didn't hesitate. I sent her $800 immediately. I asked no questions. I believed that's what you do for family. I thought when someone you love says they're scared and in pain, you help. I recall 2 weeks later, she called again. I heard more tests, she said. I listened to her mention more copays. I understood more out-of-pocket expenses. I sent another $600. I sent it the same day. I remember last month, I stopped by her house unexpectedly to drop off groceries. I'd heard she wasn't feeling well enough to shop, so I picked up essentials for her. I let myself in with the spare key she'd given me years ago. I found the house was quiet. I realized she wasn't home. I noticed on the kitchen counter, I saw a stack of mail. I spotted hospital paperwork on top. I found billing statements. I read appointment reminders. I know I shouldn't have looked. I understand that. But I felt something told me to check. I discovered every single appointment listed was marked, no show, or, cancelled by patient. I realized she hadn't attended a single medical appointment. Not one. I remember that night, I couldn't sleep. I did something I rarely did because it always upset me, I checked her social media. I saw the past 2 months documented in detail. I found photos from restaurants. I noticed expensive-looking dinners with fancy cocktails. I read captions like, treating myself, and living my best life. I discovered selfies from a salon. I saw new wigs in different styles and colors. I read, new look, who dis? I found spa day photos with cucumber slices on her eyes. I saw, self-care Sunday. Everyone deserves to feel pampered. I noticed posts about Derek, her on-again, off-again boyfriend of 3 years. I saw pictures of his new car, a used Honda, but new to him. I read posts bragging about helping him get back on his feet. I saw comments from her friends congratulating her on being such a generous partner. I understood she'd spent my money. I realized all $1,400 went to everything except her health. I remember when I confronted her the next day over text, because she rarely answered my calls anymore. I watched her explode. I read her call me ungrateful. I saw her accuse me of spying on her. I understood she said I was calling her a liar. I felt she said I didn't care if she lived or died. Then I noticed she blocked my number. I realized she deleted every single message on her end that made her look guilty. I understood every request for money disappeared. I saw every lie about doctor appointments vanished. I recognized every cruel word she'd sent me over the years was erased. I knew she wiped her side of the conversation clean and kept only the messages that made me look cold and distant. I recognized now, standing in her living room surrounded by her carefully selected audience, she was performing the grand finale of her victim story. I watched Mom lift her phone high like a prosecutor presenting the key piece of evidence. "Look," I heard her say. I noticed her voice breaking dramatically. "Look at her messages to me. She ignored me for weeks. I was begging for help, and she just, nothing." I saw her turn the screen toward the crowd. I watched people crane their necks, leaning in to see. I knew they saw nothing incriminating on her side. I understood she'd made absolutely sure of that. But I realized they saw what looked like my cold, short responses. I recognized messages that seemed distant without the context of what she'd said first. I felt the room's energy shift. I sensed it turn sharper. I noticed it became colder. I felt it grow angrier. "Unbelievable," I heard someone mutter from the back. "Such disrespect," I heard another voice add. "Kids these days have no sense of family duty," I heard Mrs. Patterson say loudly. I watched her shake her head. No respect for the people who raised them. I tried to make eye contact with my cousin Emma, who I'd always thought liked me. I saw her look away. I felt their judgment like physical weight pressing down on my chest. I counted 30 pairs of eyes. I realized 30 people had already decided I was guilty without hearing a single word from me. I watched my mother cover her face with both hands. I saw her shoulders shaking with what everyone in the room assumed were heartbroken sobs. But I knew better. I'd seen this performance too many times growing up. I recognized the shaking shoulders. I knew the muffled sounds. I understood the perfect timing of when to lift her head and show her tear-streaked face. I felt my phone buzz in my hand. I counted once, then twice. I saw notifications. I remembered a reminder I'd set weeks ago. I recalled a backup I'd created the moment I realized what she was planning. I understood something Mom had completely forgotten about. I have cloud backup on all my messages. I know it's automatic. I understand it's complete. I realize it's uneditable. I know everything she deleted on her end still existed on mine. "Mom," I said. I heard my voice cut through the murmurs and whispers like a knife. I felt it come out steady. I knew it sounded calm. I realized it was eerily controlled. I noticed the room quieted slightly. "Mom," I repeated. "Are you absolutely sure you want to continue with this story?" I watched her freeze. I saw just for a second her hands lower slightly from her face. I noticed eyes that weren't sad, they were calculating. "What?" I heard her say. I recognized she was still performing that wounded tone. I held up my phone. "Are you completely sure you want to keep telling everyone that I abandoned you?" I saw her eyes narrow. I knew she recognized that tone. I remember I'd used it once before, years ago, when I'd caught her in a lie about my college fund that she'd spent. "Vanessa, don't you dare," I heard her start. "I'm going to show them the truth," I said simply. "Right now." I walked over to the TV mounted on the wall. I remember Mom's 55-inch smart TV. I recall the one I'd helped her set up last Christmas because she didn't understand how streaming worked. I opened the screen mirroring app on my phone. "What are you doing?" I heard Mom's voice rise. I noticed real panic creeping in now, replacing the performed sadness. "Vanessa, stop it. Right now." I watched the TV screen flicker blue. I saw my phone display appear, blown up huge for everyone in the room to see. I opened our message thread. I knew it was the real one. I understood it was the complete, undelete, cloud-backed up version. "Let's start from the beginning," I said calmly. 3 months ago. I noticed the room went completely silent. I felt you could have heard a pin drop. I watched them see the first message exchange on the screen. I read aloud, "Mom says, Vanessa honey, I need help. The doctors found something. I need tests but insurance won't cover it all. I'm scared. I don't know what to do." I continued, I responded, "Mom, I'm so sorry. That's terrifying. How much do you need?" I kept reading. She said, $800. "I know it's a lot. I'm sorry to ask." I finished. I said, "Don't apologize. I'm sending it right now. Please let me know what the doctors say. I love you." I scrolled down slowly so everyone could read. I showed them my next message 2 days later. "Mom, did you schedule the appointment? Do you want me to come with you? I can take time off work." I pointed out no response from her. I revealed my message 4 days later, just checking in. "How did the tests go? What did they find?" I indicated no response. I displayed my message 1 week later. "Mom? Are you okay? I'm worried. Please text me back." I showed them still nothing from her. I revealed her next message that appeared 2 weeks after the first exchange. "Vanessa, I need more money. They want to run more tests. $600 this time. I'm so scared." I showed my response, "Of course, Mom. Sending it now. But can you please send me the appointment details? I want to make sure you're not going through this alone. I want to be there for you." I displayed her reply, "Why are you questioning me? You think I'm lying?" I showed my answer, "No, Mom. I just want to support you. I love you." I revealed her response, "If you loved me, you'd just help without interrogating me." I heard the room stir. I noticed uncomfortable shifting. I listened to whispered questions. I kept scrolling. I showed them the screenshots I'd saved from her social media. I displayed the spa day selfies dated the same week she said she was too sick to leave her house. I revealed the restaurant check-ins. I showed the new wig photos. I displayed the pictures of Derek's car with her caption clear as day, "Helping my man get back on his feet. Sponsored by my amazing daughter." I heard someone gasp audibly. I think it was Sandra. I heard my Uncle Richard whisper, "Oh no. Ellen, no." I scrolled further to our final conversation. I knew this was the confrontation. I showed them my message, "Mom, I was at your house and saw the hospital papers. You haven't been to a single appointment. All of them say, no show. Where did the money actually go?" I displayed her response, "How dare you go through my private papers? You have no right." I revealed my reply, "You left them on the kitchen counter." I wasn't snooping. I just want the truth. Did you actually need medical tests? I showed her message, "You want me dead. You've always hated me. Ever since you were a child, you've wanted me gone." I displayed my response, "Mom, that's not true and you know it. I love you. I'm just asking for honesty. Please." I showed her final text, "Don't contact me ever again. You're dead to me. You're the worst daughter in the world." I revealed my last message, "Mom, please. Let's talk about this calmly." I pointed out there were no more messages from her. I explained that's when she'd blocked me. I noticed the room was dead silent now. I saw 30 people staring at a screen that was destroying everything my mother had just said. But I knew I had one more thing. I understood this was the final piece. I remembered a voice note. I recalled one she'd sent to Sandra but had accidentally sent to me first in a group text before quickly deleting it and blocking me. But I'd saved it. "There's one more thing," I said quietly. I played the audio. I heard Mom's voice fill the entire room, crystal clear and unmistakably hers. "Sandra, you won't believe what I just pulled off. Got another 600 from Vanessa. God, she's so easy to manipulate. Just cry a little, mention hospitals and doctors, and she falls for it every time. Derek's car payment is almost done. Maybe I'll get my nails done next week. She owes me anyway after all I did raising her." I heard laughter on the recording. I recognized her laughter. I knew it was light, casual, cruel. I felt the room explode, not with noise, but with the crushing weight of absolute silence. I watched my mother move fast. I saw her lunge toward me, not with tears this time, but with pure fury. "Turn that off." I heard her scream. I noticed no trace of sadness left in her voice. "You're making me look bad. You're destroying me." "No, Mom," I said. I kept my voice steady and cold. "You did that yourself." I watched Sandra take 3 steps backward. I saw her hand over her mouth. I noticed her eyes wide with betrayal. "Ellen, you lied to me. You lied to all of us. You said you were dying." I heard my Uncle Richard's voice. I noticed his face had gone from stern to pale in seconds. "Ellen, you scammed your own daughter? Your own child?" I saw Mrs. Patterson didn't say a word. I watched her just grab her purse. I noticed her shake her head in disgust. I observed her walk straight out the front door. I watched people begin leaving. I noticed not slowly. I saw not politely. I observed quickly. I felt like the room was contaminated. "I can't believe this," I heard someone say. "She manipulated all of us." I heard another voice. "I gave her a casserole last week because I thought she was sick." I heard a third person exclaim. I noticed Mom's boyfriend Derek, who I realized had been hiding in the kitchen this entire time, probably scrolling through his phone, slip out the back door without saying goodbye. I watched Sandra grab her purse with shaking hands. I saw her eyes were red. I couldn't tell whether from anger or tears. "Don't ever call me again, Ellen," I heard Sandra say. I noticed her voice breaking. "I mean it. We're done." I saw the pastor's wife, Mrs. Chen, who I'd noticed had been sitting quietly in the corner the entire time, stand up slowly. I watched her look at my mother with something that might have been pity but looked more like disgust. "This is manipulation," I heard her say firmly. I felt her voice carrying authority. "This is emotional abuse. And it ends today." I watched one by one as they all left. I saw my cousins without making eye contact. I noticed my uncle muttering apologies to me as he passed. I observed neighbors I'd known my whole life shaking their heads. I realized within 5 minutes, the living room was empty except for me and my mother. I watched her stand in the middle of her carefully arranged stage, shaking, not with sadness, but with rage and humiliation. I understood for the first time in her entire life, her performance had failed. I knew her audience wasn't protecting her. I realized they weren't sympathizing with her. I saw they weren't giving her what she wanted. I recognized they were seeing her. I understood really, truly seeing her. I knew they didn't like what they saw. I picked up my bag from the chair where I'd set it down when I first arrived. I heard Mom finally speak. I noticed her voice hoarse and raw. "You just destroyed me. You destroyed your own mother." "No," I said calmly. "I stopped you from destroying me. Again." I walked toward the door. I paused with my hand on the doorknob. I'll help you with actual medical needs if you ever have them, I said. I didn't look at her. Real doctor appointments. Real medications. Real emergencies. I'll help you with groceries when you actually need them. With bills if you're genuinely struggling. But I will never again finance lies. I will never again be your ATM. And I will never, ever let you destroy my reputation to protect yours. I noticed she didn't answer. I realized for the first time in my entire life, my mother had absolutely nothing to say. I walked out into the cool evening air. I saw the sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. I felt my hands shaking as I unlocked my car, but I felt lighter than I had in years. I thought maybe ever. That night, I sat in my quiet apartment with a cup of tea. I felt my phone buzz. I read a text from Mia, my cousin, Vanessa. I'm so sorry. I should have asked your side. I should have known. I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. You deserve honesty. You deserve peace. Can we talk soon? I replied, thank you, Mia. That means everything. Yes, let's talk. I saw another message from Sandra. Vanessa, I owe you the biggest apology. I should have questioned things. I should have protected you. I'm so sorry. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I responded, I appreciate that, Sandra. Thank you. I set my phone down and looked around my small apartment. I saw my plants. I noticed my books. I observed my couch. I recognized my space. I realized something important in that moment, something I'd never fully understood before. I know you can love your family without letting them rewrite your story. I understand you can care about people without letting them erase you. I recognize I didn't expose my mother to embarrass her. I know I didn't do it for revenge. I did it so she could never again delete me from my own life. I felt for the first time in 27 years, I felt completely, utterly free. I know sometimes the people who claim you abandoned them are the ones who were never really there for you in the first place. I understand that's okay. I realize you're allowed to walk away. I know you're allowed to tell the truth. I understand you're allowed to choose peace over performance.